Hey, Jess.
Hey.
Hey, so, we're doing the song No Reaction this week, right? Well, guess what? I got amazing news. Guess who's going to be on the show this week? Ethan Luck. He's coming on our show to talk about the Yeah tour and the song No Reaction. Isn't that amazing? What? Isn't that amazing? Oh, I get it. Is that the bit this week? We're talking about the song No Reaction, so you give me no reaction?
I want a divorce.
What?
I can't find no inspiration, nothing that keeps me up at night. I wanna give you satisfaction, so you don't say what's wrong or right. Someone please tell me just what is not sticking.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sadie Hawkins Pod.
Hello, everyone. Big news this week. Jessica and I are getting... No, just kidding. That was just a comedy bit. That was just... If this is your first episode of Sadie Hawkins Pod, we open the show with little comedy bits, and that was a hilarious one. It was so comfortable to hear Jessica say those words. I know it was all just fiction, but oh, it was hilarious. I really enjoyed that. No, I didn't.
Fiction?
Well, welcome to the show.
Sorry, as I take a rather large sip of my water.
So we have a normal format on the show, but it's true. If you didn't look at the title of the episode, you would already know this. But we really do have Ethan Luck on the show this week, and we had a very long conversation with him. So we're going to kind of skirt our normal opening of the show format. We normally just talk random stuff at the top of the show, and we go to voicemails. Luckily, we don't have any voicemails right now. So we will just kind of launch right into actually talking about the song, because I'm sure a lot of people have already skipped to the time code of whatever time Ethan joins.
If you'd like to do that now, it is
25:40.
There you go. Well, before you do that, just a reminder that this conversation we're going to have with Ethan was recorded at the beginning of December.
Yep.
And we had actually been talking to him, I think in November, about him coming on the show. Oops, the air conditioner was on. Turn that off.
Professional.
We are professional. That's the kind of professionalism that ropes in a guest like Ethan Luck. So we were talking to him in November before the Yeah tour was announced. And we were trying to catch him in between his other job. And it kept not working out. And by the time we nailed down the date, we actually nailed down the date that we were going to talk to him. And then the Yeah tour was announced. And we're like, oh, I guess we have to talk about that now. So not only are we going to talk to him about the No Reaction song and a couple of other things, there's some Supertones talk for any Supertones fans out there. We're going to talk about a couple of different things, and we're going to talk about the Yeah tour and some of the things you may be able to expect from it. So that's really exciting, and that's amazing, and the timing that it worked out for and everything. So
yeah, something we don't go into too much, but I just want to say I really love Ethan's new solo record, The Golden West. It's an instrumental album that is really beautiful and sort of a love letter to California and the West. It's a mix of surf and old Western and Latin music. It's streaming and on Bandcamp, and you can also pre-order the vinyl off of SMLXL.
that's right. And this is not a paid endorsement, nor did he ask us to.
No, I just think it's really good. And
no,
you should check it out.
It's not a quid pro quo or anything like that. Jessica really does love that solo album.
It's like listening to a soundtrack from an old Western mixed with some 60s surf rock in there. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So we'll just launch right into it, and we'll just start talking about No Reaction, and then we'll get to what people really want to hear. So just No Reaction. Now, I know we did our little bit, but I'm actually looking honestly. What's your reaction to this song? How do you feel about the song No Reaction?
I enjoy this song. I've always enjoyed this song. It's never been a skip.
Right. Well, it's only a minute long.
Well, yeah.
But it's a fun minute.
Yeah.
And there's so much packed in here. And it's funny because I don't know if any other fans did know about why if the information about why all the members of the band have songs on the Nashville Tennis section of Bird and the B-Sides. If that information was out there before, I'm not sure. But I didn't know that the idea was we need a couple extra songs for Nashville Tennis. So everyone go write a 1-minute joke song, and we learned this from John Schneck. And then only Schneck and Ethan's songs were actually 1 minute and actually like comedic, because then Hoops and Warren turn in totally sincere songs over a minute. At least Warren's was actually a minute when he first turned it in, but it was still sincere. So it's funny that when I used to hear this song on the Nashville, Tennessee EP, and I have so many memories of us listening to Burn the B-Sides driving around New Jersey when we lived there. This song would come on and I'd be like, this is so much fun, because it's like this punk thing, and then it gets into the reggae part, and I knew that Ethan was in the Supertones, and he had been in the Dingies, and I knew that reggae music and ska music were part of his like background, so it made so much sense and so fun that he would bring this completely new idea, if only for like 20 seconds out of the 1 minute song, to Relient K. And there are other kind of like ska and reggae light moments in Relient K's history, like the wannabe ska version of Five Iron Frenzy is Dead or Dying. And I guess some people kind of listen to the kind of upstroke tempo of The Lining of Silver and kind of perceive of that as maybe a little ska influence, but like Tisa never really wrote ska stuff, and like the Five Iron Frenzy version is called the wannabe ska version. Like they kind of admit, it's like they're admitting there that this isn't really fully authentic. But Ethan's take on reggae is like totally authentic. Like he totally gets what's, how that's really done. So it sounds so much, the reggae on this song sounds so much better than any of the sort of attempts at ska and reggae that might have existed in Relient K's past up to this point. And then, so the lyrics to this song, I never understood totally. At least I thought I did. And it turned out I was totally wrong, because I didn't know the background of... I didn't understand that the background was, hey, it's like a class assignment. Everyone go write a song for the album, right? So, definitively, and Ethan will explain this on this episode, as well as I actually have a video from YouTube where he says this, and I'd never seen this video before, that the song, the story of the song, the lyrics are literally interpreted as Ethan presenting this song to Relient K and saying, what do you guys think of the song? And the band doesn't like it, so they give him no reaction. I didn't understand that there was like a class assignment for the band. Like if maybe there had been like a little blurb inside the CD booklet, I would have understood that.
Right.
But there wasn't. So I kind of... all I could grab onto was I thought maybe it had to do with like kids at like Relient K concerts, or what actually specifically kind of came to mind was like Relient K was at Warped Tour and things like that a lot at the time. So part of me was thinking like reactions from crowds that aren't like a Relient K specific crowd, and they're giving you no reaction or they aren't impressed.
Like that Michigan basement show we always find.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. Like Ethan wasn't at that show, but thinking in terms of that. Like you go to Warped Tour, you're up playing on Warped Tour and you get no reaction from the crowd because they're just not impressed with you, or they don't have an existing relationship with your music. For some reason, I always interpreted these lyrics as listen to the sound of the beat not stopping, listen to the sound of the reggae dropping, no reaction, no reaction. I thought it was the crowd giving no reaction. And then when it says looking at the Matts and the Johns not talking, I thought that was like a little thing like, on tour and the Matts and the Johns aren't talking to each other. Like there's some sort of drama. I didn't perceive it as literal, like this is a real thing. I thought it was a joke. I thought that this was a joke about life on tour on a festival like Warped Tour or similar, or that that McDonald's tour they went on, where maybe the crowd doesn't give you the reaction you want, and then backstage, the band is all acting like divas towards each other. Because there's so many stories in rock about like bands that won't even talk to each other, and then the only time they spend together is literally on stage, and they don't even want to look at or see each other after the show. So I thought it was a joke based on that. That's not what it is. It is actually... literally, this is literal Ethan. Like we have literal Thiessen. This is literal Ethan talking about writing this song and getting no reaction. Although I guess it's technically not literal Ethan, because it's like anxiety Ethan. Like what if I wrote this song and the band doesn't like it?
Oh man, I'm anxiety Ethan all the time.
So that was my concept of the song. Really, I mean, I guess in a normal circumstance, we'd try to talk for another 40 minutes about the song, just make some stuff up. But we do have, that is like all my real thoughts on the song. It is amazing. There aren't any covers of this song that already exist online. We put the message out, and some people said that they tried to get them to us. And we're recording this episode early, so if they get it back to us before the episode comes out, we'll insert them here. But if you didn't hear anything there, then the covers didn't arrive in time.
Yeah, wow. Everyone really had no reaction to this song.
Yeah.
We do have some annotations over on Genius. Very helpful, Genius, this week.
Okay.
Over looking at the Matts and the Johns not talking. The Matts and Johns have a highlight.
Okay.
And it says, Genius annotation, 1 contributor. This indicated that Ethan Luck is the vocalist on this track.
See, now if I go...
One up vote.
If I don't understand the meaning of this song, if I misinterpret it as about a festival crowd not giving them a reaction, and then I misinterpret the lines looking at the Matts and the Johns not talking, I think it's about drama behind the stage, I would go to Genius expecting something to support or not support that theory. But instead they're like, well, if the Johns and the Matts are mentioned as third person characters, this indicates that Ethan is singing.
Right.
Okay. Sure.
You could have just scrolled down to the copyright information, but you know.
Right. I mean, I think it was a couple years into, I don't remember what I've said in past episodes, so if this contradicts something I've said in the past, in the John Schneck episode or in the Last Lost Least episode, I apologize. But I think it was a couple of years before I realized, like, oh, these are every member of the band has a separate singing song on here. You know what I mean? Like, I could tell that You'll Always Be My Best Friend, Last Lost Least, Be Your Man, and this song were not Thiessen singing, but I did not really put together 100%. This is all 5 members until one day when I really thought about the fact of who was in the band at the time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it took me a while to actually really realize that. So I guess that would be helpful to just be like, this indicates Ethan is singing. And I don't know if Ethan had a lot of other singing before this. Like now he has his solo albums and he has, Let It Burn, his ska album. I don't know how much other singing he did aside
the
from
Golden
like
West
background.
is an instrumental.
Well, there you go.
Album.
So he does sing on the Let It Burn album. And I don't know how many, he's been in so many bands, Demon Hunter and Dingies and Supertones, and he's guested or helped out on so many other albums and so many other tours that I'm sure he sings background like in so much stuff. But I just don't know if he sang lead on a lot of other stuff. So before his solo album and before this song. So if you heard these vocals, you might kind of put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. But maybe if you were smarter than me and looked at who wrote the songs and been like, well, whoever wrote the songs must be singing the songs. But then again, I could tell, of course, it's Warren singing because I knew Ace Troubleshooter.
Right.
But then we didn't understand that. I guess I didn't know Ethan's talking voice either up to a point because we didn't really 100% know that it was Ethan giving the 5 great things about America in Be Your Man.
Right. Sort of
mean?
doing like a put on kind of a goofy voice.
Yeah. Which he talks about the origins of that, and I'll save that for later. But one thing I do want to spoil from the interview later is that, and this part was amazing, especially I never would have put this together because I didn't understand the story of this song that was intended. But when it gets to the reggae part, he'll tell us this, and I'm going to spoil it now. When it gets to the reggae part, he says, "Listen to the sound of the beat not stopping," and then you hear no reaction, no reaction. I could tell that was Thiessen, right? Well, it turns out every time, no reaction, no reaction. Every time that repeats in the reggae section, that's a different member of the band.
That's so cool.
And I did not comprehend that. And I think it's kind of, it seems like it might, I guess we didn't ask for specifics, but when I went back and listened to the song after that, I think it's all 4 other members of the band on each no reaction, but one is pushed up higher. And it just kind of comes back to that thing of how Hoops and Thiessen have very similar voice tones, and somehow I just never sussed out that it was Warren and Schneck were in there as well. So that's amazing. And it's like basically playing along with the story in a very dramatic, like Broadway style. Like you get each John giving literally the lyrics no reaction, punching home the idea that they're giving no reaction within the story of the song. And that was amazing to learn. Anything else? No, there's got to be something. I'm so not used to doing a 14-minute episode.
I know, right?
Not counting the opening bit, which is in a separate file. So 14 minutes. Wow. Well, I don't know. What else you want to talk about? What's going on? How's your New Year's going? Any New Year's resolutions? Oh, we obviously have the way we grade the songs. That's what will get us into the interview. But just in general, do you have any New Year's resolutions? How you doing?
You put me on the spot here.
Okay, well, I can tell you my New Year's resolution.
Oh, okay.
It is to not confuse Columbia Records and Capitol Records in 2022.
Oh, boy.
Because I was listening to last week's episode with Alex, and I'm like, I keep saying Columbia. I can't get it out of my head. And I really realized it's because Columbia Pictures, especially because Spider-Man's the #1 movie of 2021. So this nails it home even more. Columbia Pictures is owned by Sony.
You're just predicting that.
I think it was.
Or are you speaking? Are you speaking here from 2022? Because it's 2022 now.
It's the second biggest opening on a Friday ever.
Okay.
Like ever.
Oh,
not
okay.
just COVID or post-COVID, which we're not in post-COVID, but ever. So it's got to be one of the biggest box office movies of 2021.
Gotcha.
Outdoing 2020's biggest box office draw, Sonic the Hedgehog. So anyway, Columbia Pictures, right, is owned by Sony. Jive Records is owned by Sony, I believe. Forget Not Slow Down was on Jive Records. Columbia, Sony, Capitol, Columbia. This is my New Year's resolution. Stop getting them mixed up. It's like AMC Theaters and AMC Network. Like, you think they're related, but they're not. They're not. They're just, they have the same name, and it gets confusing. So anyway.
Great resolution.
Great resolution. Did you think of a New Year's resolution while I was blabbing on?
Nope. Just to keep on keeping on.
I hope your New Year's resolution isn't the thing from the beginning of the show today.
Oh, man, you just spoiled it.
Damn it! Well, anyway, I do have a couple of clips, so we can check these out really quick.
Nice.
There's one clip, and Ethan mentions this, and I didn't know it existed because I didn't have my chance to do my YouTube deep dive. But there is this performance. The only recorded performance of the song was at Winter Wonder Slam 2009, where Thiessen couldn't make the show, and Ethan will talk more of the specifics of that. But everyone kind of had to take turns kind of being the lead singer that night. So Ethan came up and played No Reaction to help, fill up the set. And this is the only recorded performance of it at Winter Wonder Slam 2009.
That would be an okay idea for me to play the song we did that I wrote for the CD called The Bird and the Bee Side. Alright, well, it's a song about writing a song to please the guys in the band. Because Matt asked me to write a 1-minute song, so I said, well, I can't say anything really that important in 60 seconds, so this is the result. If you don't like it, it's okay. Go admit it. Please welcome Kadar, Stephanie Smith's drummer, to help us out on this one.
Of glory indeed. Good stuff. I'm so glad that video exists.
Yeah. I'm so glad one person recorded it, because
Yeah.
there are those couple of songs, a song like this that you think was never played live. And then
It's such a bummer that it's an 09 camera phone, but
Right.
it's good stuff.
Yeah. So come on, Relient K, break out No Reaction again.
Yeah.
It's only a minute long. You got him in the band back, and he's up front. He's going to be up front
Yeah,
on the
there you
Yator,
go.
on the Yator. So
That's for the 20th anniversary of him.
So, yeah, that would be great. And then Schneck should get to play Be Your Man as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. So, yeah, like I said, there were no covers, and we played the covers earlier if they exist, or we wouldn't play them if they didn't exist. And I thought about breaking out the ukulele and trying to record a little cover. I even looked at the chords. But we're recording this during the holiday season. I'm like, but that's work. And we're very,
Wow.
very busy.
Wow.
So I'm so sorry that there aren't more covers, but people out there, please start recording covers of No Reaction. Maybe
Send
we'll
them
do
in,
a
we'll
bonus.
play 'em, yeah.
We'll do a bonus episode. So, yeah.
Danny, do you like this song more, less, or the same?
I like this song. Oh, I'll tell you in 1 second. I don't have another
Okay.
video to play, but we can talk about these in the future. Just from typing in Relient K reaction, because sometimes I'll type in just one word out of the
Oh.
song title to see what comes up.
Yeah.
And I got a couple different things of like people doing reaction videos
Interesting.
to Relient K songs, but I don't mean like how, you know, fans will do their summaries of, oh, I just listened to this album again for the first time in years, or Collapsible Lung just came out, let me tell you what I'm thinking of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, this is like people who have maybe only vaguely heard of Relient K, who are reaction channels, and they got requests to listen to a Relient K song.
Gotcha.
So we will talk about those in the future, because
Okay.
this week isn't the place for those.
Interesting.
So, and then there's one stop motion video with like construction paper showing how the human brain works.
Oh, wow. Very interesting.
Yeah,
Very
and-
cool.
That is called, the video is just called The Brain, and it's uploaded by Hey Hale A09 10 years ago. HEYHAILA09 10 years ago. And I guess we'll just play it real quick. It's only a minute long. It's just a little stop motion.
Yeah, they like stuck a brain onto their wall, and,
And
then
they're like,
showing
here's
the
the
temporal lobe.
They're showing
in
all the
there,
parts
yeah.
of the human brain.
Coloring them in different colors. This is cool. It's probably for a little school project. This is good stuff.
Yeah. This is my AP Psych project. Fingers crossed for an A.
Right on.
And then they put one of those smiley faces with a D. So I'm like, well, I hope you didn't get a D because of that smiley face. Well, we'll never know. Do we know? We don't know. Did they get the A? Someone
sure they
replied
did.
badass, and someone wrote, this is Dylan DVP, by the way. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Oh, they reply. Oh, whatever. We'll have to find out. Hey, Hale, tell us, did you get that A 10 years ago? So, you asked me, do I like, this is our grading of how we grade the songs, if you're listening for the first time. Do I like this song the same, more, or less than before we did this episode? And I definitely like it more. I mean, we got
Same.
to talk to Ethan Luck.
Yeah.
And we learned, but also, you know, if I got to learn this stuff, aside from talking to Ethan Luck, if we had found information about this song online somewhere, and I learned about the intricate background vocals and the actual story behind the song, I would still like this song more. At very least, I would just have liked it the same, because how could I like it more? Well, the
Right.
trick is talk to the person who wrote the song and you'll like the song more. So now we'll go to our break, and when we're back, we'll return with our permanent third seat host of Sadie Hawkins Pod, Ethan Luck. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas! We hope the season meets you with love and comfort, and ask that if you're enjoying Sadie Hawkins Pod, please show love and comfort to us by rating and reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts.
We also want to remind you to call your family if you can't be with them this season, and to call and interact with our show at our voicemail line, 402-95-SADIE.
After you write your letter to Santa, you can send an email to sadiehawkinspod@gmail.com and visit our Instagram and Twitter, which are both @sadiehawkinspod.
Once you and all the shoppers rush home with your treasures, curl up by the Yule log and visit sadiehawkinspod.com for the link to our merch store for shirts, mugs, and stickers.
We also want to wish a very Merry Christmas to our patrons at patreon.com/sadiehawkinspod. There's Kendall, Timothy, Daniel, Josh, JR, Eric, Joel, Connor, Michael, Samantha, Jimmy Eat Pod, This Might Be a Podcast, Tucker, and Brady.
You can sign up to our Patreon for bonus episodes, which include us reviewing the songs from K is for Karaoke and our read-through of the Complex Infrastructure book.
Join the war on Christmas with Sadie Hawkins Pod.
Oh, wait, what?
That's how it works, right?
Listen to the sound of the beat not stopping. No reaction, no reaction. Looking at the chart, but nothing's topping. No reaction, no reaction. Listen to the sound of the reggae dropping. No reaction, no reaction. Looking at the math and the John's not talking. No reaction, no reaction.
Well, this was a long time coming, so thanks. Well, not a long time coming, but we were only been talking for a couple of weeks. But we were talking about
how long your podcast has been going. It's been that long.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because when we started this podcast, we originally made this this pact to ourselves that we wouldn't bug any members of the band because we were not ready. We had one podcast for just between the two of us at one point, years ago, but there was not anything that we'd have people on the podcast for other than our friends. So we were like, okay, we're not gonna bug people for interviews or calls or anything. And then after a year or two, we were like, actually it was John Schneck, because he approached us. He was like, when am I going to be on your podcast? And we're like, oh, we were completely not ready yet. But that helped throw us in the deep end in a comfortable way.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to, at a certain point, you got to figure it out and, start interviewing people. And, because, I mean, I know you're doing every song in the whole catalog, but
right.
Every music-related podcast will eventually run out of content, so you got to find other ways to do stuff. I do a Metallica podcast, in 5 years, I didn't think we could even go that long. So
as long as you brought that up, I've listened to 2 episodes of your podcast. I'm so backed up with podcasts because ever since of COVID, I used to always be caught up on all my podcasts, and now I've been all these podcasts that they're building up in my phone, and I'm I can't not listen to them. I subscribe to them. I have to listen, so it's been impossible to fit new podcasts into my podcast diet.
Yeah.
But but this year I discovered thrash metal for the first time. So One of the first things I thought about was I got to start listening to your podcast. So I listened to
there's a lot of episodes there. It might take you a while to get fully caught up, man.
I actually jumped right to when you guys watched the Big Four DVD and you did a separate episode on each band. And I went right to your Megadeth episode because a bit controversial for some people I've talked to online, but when I started, because I listened to Metallica when I was a 90s kid because they were on MTV. I couldn't avoid them, right? I didn't own any CDs, but I listened to them and I had tapes and stuff from the library and from friends and stuff. But all the other thrash metal, all other metal bands, I was not hugely interested in metal. I was mostly just interested in ska and pop punk, right? So, but this year I really got into metal and I just gravitated directly towards 80s thrash. And then I just glommed directly onto Megadeth. And I don't know what it is, but if it's some sort of FOMO from my childhood, if I had been listening to metal when I was a kid in the late 80s and the 90s, I feel I would have listened to Megadeth. So that's what I grabbed onto. And I went right to your episode from the Big Four DVD. And what's your co-host name?
Clint. Yeah, he hates Megadeth.
Right, he hates Megadeth. And then you guys agreed on this one thing. You were yeah, if you're into Megadeth, it only makes sense if you were into them when you were a teenager. Nobody in their but he says nobody in their 40s gets into Megadeth except I'm 39 and I just got into Megadeth.
You did it, man. You've proven him wrong.
And he actually said in the episode, I don't want to hear from anybody if you want to contradict me. I'm saying this is true, and if it's not your truth, I don't need to hear it.
Well, Yeah, there's other episodes we do where we talk about we do this series called Explore the Big Four, where we just basically listen to one of the other Big Four albums. Mm-hmm. And when we've done Megadeth ones, he's usually not having a great time. So.
Right.
Except for one record, he was pleasantly surprised by, which was cool.
Which one was that? Do you remember?
That was Cryptic Writings.
Oh, okay.
He liked that one, so
yeah.
I think we might be doing another Megadeth record next week. We haven't listened through a Big Four record in almost a year, so we're kind of bringing that one back. But
okay,
we're gonna do their most controversial record next, which is Risk.
Right. I was just telling Jessica
I haven't listened to it in probably 20 years. So.
I have not really listened to it. I kind of listened to a couple songs on it, and I was like, okay, I'm still getting into the good albums. Let me wait a little bit longer.
So sorry, remind me your names real quick.
Oh yeah. This is Jessica.
Hi.
Jessica.
And I'm Danny.
Jessica and Danny. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I kept thinking Dennis because your last name is Leary. So
right.
I saw the Zoom thing and I was like, I immediately just went, oh, Dennis Leary, that's cool. But
right.
Dan,
that doesn't come up as much as you think. Like I feel like someone only says that like maybe every 4 years somebody makes that connection. But I did intern for Dennis Leary's company.
Boy, that's cool.
After college. It was just a coincidence. I don't know if they like took special notice of my resume because my last name was Leary. Like they knew I wasn't related to him.
Yeah.
Like me and the office manager that I interviewed with, like we laughed about it. We're like, oh, this is funny. Like, and they had openings. So they're like, sure. But then when I worked there, it never occurred to me, like when a delivery would come by, I need to give them my name, or if I was like leaving a message or something, I'd be like, I realized I needed to come up with a different name because the first time I tried to say Leary out loud, I was super embarrassed.
Yeah, kind of not the best place to be yelling right. Your last name, I guess.
So, so we were talking about doing this for a couple of weeks, and when you first replied to us, no idea that you were going to be coming back to Relient K, because I think maybe it was a month and a half ago or 2 months ago. You were on tour with I had her name here. You've been on tour, right? You've been on tour with Morgan Wade.
Yeah. I play for her full time, basically.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. So so I was trying to catch you in between time off on that tour, and then once we finally figured out when this was going to happen, like all of a sudden Relient K is back and you're in the band, and then it became kind of this light conspiracy theory because it's not like there was a press release about, hey, Relient K is back, here's the plans, blah, blah, blah. Everyone just pieced together what was happening from the tweets coming out from the ticketing companies and the venues and stuff. And then there's that one collage, and you're in it, but your hat's over your face.
Right.
And so
I don't
at
even
first,
know who made that. I mean, those photos were taken from Hoops' camera, so I have no idea like where they got posted. And I just saw it one day on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I didn't.
I think the first one got posted to the New York venue, where that one was playing. Yeah, I don't remember
the collage thing.
Yeah.
So it probably got used for like promo or press or something, and then I just saw it on Twitter when people started like opened it one night on the bus on tour, and it was just like all these mentions. I was like, oh geez,
right,
what's happening?
So Hoops or whoever must have just sent that out as the promo photo to all the different ticketing
probably
websites and info aggravators. What's that word? I shouldn't have tried to say a word I absolutely don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So now you're back in Relient K, and that was like the huge news. Oh, so your face is covered in the picture. And there was actually like debate. People were like, the first day that picture was out, people were like, is this Ethan? Is this Ethan? Like nobody was absolutely convinced. Although like
That's
obviously
amazing.
It was your tattoos that sold it. And
that
we have
would be
one.
The green light for me. But again, I see myself every day, so it's a little different, But yeah, after you and I messaged about that, I found that collage photo and I was looking at it. And I was like, it seems like me.
One person, I don't remember who, but one person really was asking if it was Barclay Townsend or something, and I'm like, I don't know.
I've got a lot of tattoos in a short amount of time.
So the main thing we want to talk to you about for sure is your song on Bird and the B-Sides. But as long as now this is the new. If we had done this like 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't be talking about you being back in Relient K, because I guess we wouldn't know. Unless you like slipped it to us, which I don't know if you could have. I wasn't trying to put it off
because of that, by the way, because I honestly didn't know when it was gonna be announced or anything. I knew that there were there was tour dates booked and all that stuff, and I mean, up until literally like a week ago, I didn't even know if I could do it.
Okay.
Just because of my schedule with the full-time gig I have with Morgan. And it's just, it's working out to where it's like 99.9% I'll be able to do all the dates.
Oh, great.
I thought it was impossible. I was like, there's no way. I told the dudes initially, I'm like, hopefully I can do like half the tour, and then maybe we can convince John Warren to do it or somebody, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's looking like I'll be able to do everything.
Gotcha. And then that's the other question was everyone online, all the fans were like, are you playing guitar? But we now know you're playing bass for sure. Relient K posted a picture of you holding a bass. In that promo photo collage, you're holding like a mini bass.
It's a ukulele bass.
There you go. So that's that extra layer of ambiguity of like, is he playing the bass? That it's not a proper bass. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I can and can't talk about, but I guess I could just say it. I don't know. But, there's nothing. I mean, everything's out there now, I guess, as far as like what's happening. But
right.
I mean, we've been getting together and practicing for months.
Okay.
Very discreetly, you know. I mean, discreetly as in we're not posting about anything, you know.
Right.
John Schneck accidentally posted something like last April or something.
Right. Yeah, that was that was heard around the world when that posted.
Dude, I remember that night or something, like we were all texting and it was like, hey, let's all agree let's not post anything just in case, because we didn't know what was going to happen back then. We didn't know if we were going to do any shows or not.
Gotcha.
We were just getting together for fun, you know. I got a text one night. I was sitting out back in my backyard by my fire pit, and Thiessen texted me and said, hey, a few of us are getting together just to like go over some songs and have some fun. You want to bring your bass and come over and whatever? I was like, sure, why not, you know. And yeah, the first time we got together was just this four of us, and because Dave, you know, lives up in Cleveland, and so yeah, it was just the four of us sitting around Hoops's pedal company office and just kind of quietly playing stuff and remembering songs and just having a good time. It was cool. But yeah, I guess I'm sure a lot of Relient K fans don't realize that we've been practicing for a while.
I definitely
not crazy consistently, because you know Hoops lives out of state now. Dave lives out of state, so it's a little harder to coordinate. But when we do, it's a trip. We have like a rehearsal space in Nashville now and everything.
Okay, we had reliable like whispers from different people who follow us online that for sure Matt were like together working on stuff or something. Apparently you were probably there at the same time from whatever we heard, but it was all hush hush, and we don't want to be like a rumor podcast, and we also don't want to like say that and turn out nothing happened and be called liars, so we didn't mention it at the time. So yeah, as far as you being in the band, and then Schneck posted that thing and that everyone started extrapolating all this info from that, but then, you know, you being in the band, I'm pretty sure it was a pretty big secret because we didn't hear anything about that. I mean, like you said, though, it sounds like it was kind of up in the air up until possibly the last minute.
I mean, I didn't not want to do it at all. It's just a matter, you know, this job I have with Morgan Wade. I mean, that's you know, it's the equivalent to anybody else's full-time job. You know, you know, I just got off a 2-month tour. You know, we were out with this band Lucero and did the whole U.S. tour in clubs, and I've got a show this Sunday, next Sunday. You know, so it's like my full-time deal. So yeah, I mean, we would get together and practice and run songs and stuff, and we talk about touring, and then nothing really was kind of in stone at all. And then when I was on the road, I found out like, oh wow, okay, there's 3 weeks being booked.
Okay.
And so I don't remember when it was. I guess it was maybe a month ago or so. I saw the dates, and it was like, all right, you know, I'm still not sure yet. Like it's gonna be a minute before I can find out, because there's still a lot of time before then. And yeah, and then I finally, you know, I talked with the powers that be on my end, and I was like, holy crap, I can do all of these dates.
That's great.
It's just crazy.
That's great.
I didn't think it was going to be possible.
We're going to be in Orlando and Boston, or we'll definitely be in Boston, and we'll probably be in Orlando. Yeah.
Where are you guys based out of?
We're in LA right now. I'm originally from Boston.
That's right. You mentioned that in an email that you're on West Coast time.
Yeah. And Jessica's originally from Florida, so we basically are going to go
to our East Coast bases.
Visit our parents in each state, and then go to the concert. But like Boston's the most likely to happen because we see Jessica's parents a little bit more often. So if we have to cut one of them, it would be Florida. But we'll see. Yeah.
Awesome.
I used to because I lived in the Boston area. I went to Soulfest growing up. So I was. I remember seeing you with the Supertones all the time.
Yeah, man, played that a few times.
Yeah, when you were on Reese and Joe's podcast recently, and you guys
That was something else.
I know.
That was a like a 2-hour tangent.
Right. I know, I loved it because one little thing that I completely forgot that they joked about was the Jar Jar Binks on stage during the Supertones for I think was it Chase the Sun tour or something. You guys talked about that for a second. Someone was wearing a Jar Jar Binks mask.
That was right before I started touring with them again.
Oh, okay. Okay.
'Cause I was in the band when I was like a teenager, and then because I was a teenager, I couldn't keep playing with them, and then they got signed and did all that the first couple records, and then I came back in towards right at the very end of that kind of album cycle. But the Jar Jar Binks thing was right before I came back.
Okay.
But
well,
I do remember it though.
Okay. I had completely forgotten about it, and it was like this deep-seated forgotten memory that just like came bubbling straight up to the surface when they started joking about that.
Yeah.
I had completely forgotten about it. And then I coincidentally went and checked that I have a copy of Chase the Sun that you signed, but you signed it over, I don't know the names of all the members of Supertones, but you signed it over the person you replaced.
That was Brian, yeah. Sorry, I keep coughing. I don't know why I'm coughing all of a sudden. I literally I sneezed like 3 times right before I started the Zoom, and now all of a sudden I have like a scratchy throat.
No problem.
If it's not COVID, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do it all the time. I would sign whatever member I replaced, I would sign over their face.
Right.
I just thought it was funny. I used to do that to Dave Douglas's face.
Oh, you did? That's funny.
Yeah, sure. Why not? It's fun.
Yeah.
And it would usually make the person who was asking me to sign it, it would either like bum them out or they would laugh. One of the two. Both were funny to me. So.
Yeah, and you played plenty of those songs probably as well, right?
Oh God, yeah, of course, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, as far as the Supertones goes, I mean, you can't see half of what's in my studio right now. It's all in front of me, but
okay.
I mean, there's still so much gear I have that I used in that band that I never got rid of. That I played those songs from that record through this amp over here and through that guitar over there,
nice.
Stuff like that. And I'll be playing that bass right there.
The lighter colored one.
I'm blocking it.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah.
It's like a cream white P bass I've had forever. John Warren actually used to play that bass live sometimes because it was before he got this bass that he really liked, and he really liked mine, and so he would play it. And then when we did the Tonight Show, when we did the Christmas episode, he was like, "Can I play your bass on TV?" I was like, "Heck yeah, man, do it." So that bass was on the Tonight Show.
So how did the idea of you? I mean, aside from it seems like necessity, right? Like, where was the idea of you picking up the bass for this iteration of Relient K? Like, I mean, I guess John Schneck, does he play bass, or was that? I mean,
really anybody can play bass in the band. I mean, everyone is kind of a multi-instrumentalist, which was always the great thing about the band. Dave included. I mean, Dave's a great guitar player, great singer. It was just, I think the four of them were already kind of chatting, and I think had maybe sat down once or twice, or at least the Matts and John, I guess. I don't really know the specifics. All I know is that John Warren, he's lived out in Denver for a long time, and he's got 2 kids now and a full-time job, and I don't know. You'd have to ask him, I guess, but I think the idea of doing it again, maybe, I don't know if it was overwhelming or what. It was just tough for him to commit to.
Right.
And even though I couldn't initially commit to it, I'm local here in Nashville, so it was easier for me just to be like, "Hey, I'm off the road this week. Let's get together and do this."
Okay.
And the whole time it was kind of like, I'm not sure, when the time comes to play shows, I'm still not sure if I can do it, but I'll get together and let's hang out and have a good time and run over and relearn all these songs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just kind of like, all right, well, if John Warren isn't around or whatever, then maybe Ethan will want to do it because I play multiple. I mean, drums aren't even my first instrument; guitar is. So
right. And
they know I can play bass too. So yeah, they just out of nowhere, like I said, I was just sitting in my backyard around having a fire, and I think it was literally like 2 days later, I was walking up, driving down the street and walking into that office, and we'd hang out and just started going over tunes. It was fun.
I have questions specific to the bass from our listener Daniel. You can see my socks. He tags you on stuff on Twitter once in a while. I don't know if you've noticed him before. So
possibly. Yeah.
So Daniel asked. I'll read his question verbatim because it kind of ties into what we're talking about. Right. And we might have said some of this already, but we'll see. We've seen you play guitar and drums a lot. What's your approach to bass playing? Are you learning these songs note for note or putting your own spin on them? And then he asks, pick or fingers, amp or DI, and any pedals in the signal chain for the tour. Also, we are not technical at all when it comes to music, but he is our...
I understand all that.
Okay. We actually rely on him and ask him questions for technical stuff when we need to know it. Yeah.
All right, so let's just take them one by one. So the first
What's your approach?
I don't know. I play it like guitar. I play it hard, and for the most part, I always play pretty aggressively. Unless it's called for in like a ballad or something like that, then I would maybe play softer. Maybe with and to answer another question, I mainly play with the pick. I've always liked the sound of that better on bass. But again, it's all subjective. It all has to do also with the style of music you're playing. What maybe within a band like Relient K, you've got a song like "Forget Not Slow Down" that needs to be a little more aggressive, and I'll play with the pick. And then you switch over to maybe a more ballad type song, then it sounds better with playing with your fingers, But overall, I play with the pick. Approaching it, I don't know. I just play it, I just play it. I hit it hard. I have fun, and as far as learning the songs, it's funny. I've talked to a few people about this. Cause I've had a lot of friends that once like info started coming out, all my friends are texting me like, "Dude, are you playing with the band again?" What's funny is like being a guitar player and having played drums in Relient K, it was really easy for me to learn all like these songs. I don't know what it's going to get narrowed down to, but we rehearsed like 20 something songs. But yeah, man, I don't know. It wasn't that hard for me. The only songs that it wasn't even really challenging, but it just took longer because I hadn't really listened to them much. Was anything off Air for Free?
Right. That was another question we had for you.
Yeah, that was the record, the one they've done since my last record. So those I just had to get to know the songs better. I didn't play on that record, so I didn't really know them as well.
Right.
But anything prior to that, having played all those songs on drums, like that's all still pretty ingrained up here in the old hard drive.
Okay.
Like when I sat down and made like a Spotify playlist of a bunch of songs, and like I hit play on Who I Am Hates Who I've Been. Like I already know that song's in E. I just know how it goes. I don't know how to better explain it. I'm just like, sense. I know it goes like this, and but there's certain things I still have to kind of pause and like listen. Okay, what did John Warren record it there, or Pittman or whoever, So for the most part, I'd say I'm probably doing it like 90%, just like the records.
Okay.
But there's certain stuff I'll and by my own spin, it's not like I'm doing anything crazy. It's not like people are going to come to the show and be like, "What was that?" It's more just like a note choice or something, like in between two main notes that on the record. Instead of going here, I might go here real quick for like a second. Just those are called passing notes, but the band's kind of always been like that. It's a lot of stuff has never been exactly like the record live. The way that maybe Matt plays piano or guitar or hoops or But all the core stuff is always recognizable, obviously. So,
right.
Did I cover all those questions? Or
yeah, there was one more, and it's amp or DI. Oh, and pedals.
Oh, amp or DI. I'll probably do both.
Okay, and what? And this question's from me. What's a DI?
A DI. DI means direct input.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think I have one. I have one down on my pedal board down there, but anyways. So basically, a DI is like so obviously you know what an amplifier is.
Right.
A DI is an amplified signal, so to speak, like the traditional way you're thinking of playing through a bass or guitar amp. You would plug into a direct input, a DI, and on the other end of that is an XLR cable, like one of these going to my microphone, and that goes basically to the monitors, to front of house, and all that stuff, and so they have that signal of the bass.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that just do DI only, and you'll put a couple pedals in front of it. There's a thing called a Sans amp, which a lot of bass players use, which is like it's also a DI, and is the same way of a normal DI box, but there's like EQ and gain and all that stuff on it to kind of shape the tone. But yeah, I'll probably be doing both. As a guitar player, like I can't really grab it right now, but I've got like 8 or 9 pedals on a pedal board down here. If I'm playing bass, I'll probably just have like 1, maybe 2 pedals and a tuner, and that's about it. Like a compressor, maybe something to overdrive the bass a little bit for maybe, I don't know what song, maybe Devastation and Reform. I'm trying to think of a heavy one or something, but But yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna have as simple setup as possible. I'm a very simple player, so.
Okay. Does that make all sense to you, Jess?
Yeah. I get
Okay.
it.
Because out of the three of us talking right
sorry,
now, there's only two bass. Well, there's two bass players among the three of us right now. Because at the
Oh,
at
you
the
play bass, Jessica?
Yes.
She started learning.
Yeah, I've started
Oh, yeah,
learning.
that's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
At the beginning of quarantine, I bought her a bass because we're stuck in the house, and she'd been talking
Yeah.
about wanting to learn forever. And so I was like, "Well, we're here."
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What kind of bass did you get?
I got a Squire jazz bass.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of that newer Squire stuff is really good. Squire is a guitar player. For years, Squire was always kind of like, oh, it's like the cheaper version of Fender, and even though it's owned by Fender, and a lot of times they were really cheap. Like you play them, you're like, these aren't, whatever. But in the last few years, like they've really stepped up like their production game. I don't know what they're doing exactly, but like that one was sitting on my couch right there, that Jazzmaster, that's a Squire. And
Nice.
I did an instrumental record I put out last October, like 2 months ago, like a surf rock instrumental kind of Western thing. I did all the guitars on that Squire. Hey, there's my
cool.
cat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Jessica loves that album.
She wants to be on the show.
Oh, we have a dog, but she's asleep on the couch right now, and we're surrounded by wires. We can't go get her. They could hiss at each
That's all
other,
good.
bark and hiss at each other.
Well, Jessica, I'm stoked you started learning bass. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Female bass
exciting.
players are always just rad in general, Think about any like band that has a female bass player, like Smashing Pumpkins or Hole or whatever, L7. There's so many cool bands that Luscious Jackson, the Pixies. It's always the most like badass person on stage is like the female bass player.
You already started with Smashing Pumpkins, and that's one of her favorite bands.
Yep.
So
There you
that
go.
works out. So we got to ask you, because this is the episode we're having you on for, is about no reaction.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple things we need to hit on, like
Okay.
your specific thoughts and how you constructed the song, but we also need you to kind of like not fact check, but kind of corroborate the side of it that we got from the whole assignment of the Bird and the B-Sides assignment that the whole band got, because John Schneck and Warren's stories were kind of lined up, but they were sort of like just two separate gospels. They weren't completely lined up. When we had John Schneck on,
Yeah, what'd he say?
he said how the assignment that he remembers is that it was everyone go write a 1 minute funny song or a 1
That's what
minute
I remember too,
joke.
yeah.
Okay. Now Warren got the note, go write a 1 minute song, but he somehow missed the word funny. So because
And apparently the word one, if I remember right, and I could be wrong, it's been a while. I mean, shoot, we recorded that in like 2008, but if I remember right, I think his song was very short, but I think Matt liked it so much, he said, hey man, just write a full song, because that song's awesome.
right. But his song
That's
is
one of my favorites on that record.
it is a great song.
Yeah.
His song is also like, it's completely sincere. It's just like it's just a completely sincere song. So he missed the point that everyone was supposed to kind of write like a fun or joke song. So
Right,
he
right.
went and he just wrote a 1 minute like song, and then he actually gave us the demo to listen to, the 1 minute demo. And
John Warren did?
Yeah, Warren sent that to us. and we
Okay,
played
so
it
my
on the
memory was
podcast.
right.
Yes.
He did originally write a short song.
Yeah,
Cool.
and then they fleshed it out into a full song. And Schneck didn't understand why Hoops and Warren came back with sincere songs that were full length when the assignment was 1 minute funny
Yeah.
song, and only you and Schneck actually followed that assignment. Now I guess Schneck didn't know that Warren technically delivered a 1 minute song, but missed that it was supposed to be funny. So it's this kind of like odd thing where everyone got pieces of the assignment, but everyone turned into different projects. Does this make
That all
sense?
sounds correct to me, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought John's was hilarious. We actually recorded most of that at my old house.
Okay.
He was like, let me come over and record this demo, and so we did that. And I think when we were in Mark's studio recording the whole Bird and the B-Sides thing, I think we played it for him. Like, okay, here's Schneck's song. Like, our thought was like, we're gonna re-record this whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't even think we redid drums. I'd have to go back and listen to it again. I haven't listened to that in a while, but
Okay.
I feel like, because I just programmed the drums. I didn't even actually play them with my actual hands,
Okay.
because it was just a demo and we did it real quick, and I did the lap steel on it, and then I mean, some stuff might have been re-recorded. I'd have to consult Schneck on that one.
Okay, I don't recall if we got that info or not.
I want to say most of it was just what I recorded at home, and then we added a couple things to it, and then of course I did the silly, country voice at the end of it,
His memory also that he explained to us for you coming in with the 5 great things about America bit,
and it's only 4.
Yeah. His memory of that was if the song wasn't set up for, he didn't write the song intending for a little talky part. He actually had kind of always wanted to do a pickin' country thing that is underneath your talking. So it was his intention just to have that, but that when everyone in the band kind of heard it, they were like, this last 30 seconds of your song just it's fun, but it just it needs something more.
Overshadowed his little solo part. Well, it was me and him. It was him doing the chicken picking thing, and then I was doing these little lap steel licks on slide, and then when I did the that stupid voice over the end, that kind of overshadowed it, because I think in the mix it fades out in the background, and then mostly me doing that. 5 great things about America. Only 4 of them, and 2 of them are the same.
Right.
I was hoping people would get that joke.
Right. I definitely always got it. Yeah.
It's not referencing anything. It was just kind of funny. It's here's 5 things, and it's 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay, it's 4, but 2 of them he repeats.
Right. What our first 4th of July as a podcast, I tweeted those lyrics as a list.
Awesome.
Sort of flesh them out as an actual list. And if people didn't get it before, they should have got it by then, because seeing it visually as a list, you can't miss it.
I think I did that in one take too.
That was my next question. Schneck did say you did it in one take. And having done it all in one take, do you remember if you were prepared with an idea, or did it kind of flow? Was it first thought, best thought?
Well, so the initial part before I say go into the whole speech. I haven't talked about this in forever. So it's funny. You can kind of hear me saying y'all in a band, man. That whole thing. That actually came from the Supertones. That was a joke that Dan, our trombone player, used to always say. We'd be sound checking. God, I'm making myself laugh so much right now. I wish Dan was here to do this. But Dan would do that kind of stuff. He would walk on the bus or be sound checking, and he'd just go on the mic and look at one of us and be like, y'all in a band, man? Y'all pretty good. Y'all jam. Y'all are awesome. He would do that kind of accent. He's from Texas, so it was better than that. But so I knew I was going to do that, and then I just I had an idea it'd be funny to list 5 great things about America, but not list 5.
Right.
And then I think I remember thinking it'd be funny if I listed the guys in the band, and then I was about to say Dave, and then said my own name. Mm-hmm. That was kind of all I really thought about, and then I just went in there and just improv'd it and did it in one take.
Yeah. That moment where you almost say Dave and then you cut off and you say your name. First of all, it's funny because I don't think anyone was absolutely certain. I don't think the fandom, and certainly not ourselves, were 100% sure that was you, because it's not like a credit or anything that's
right,
you.
Yeah.
So you'd have to absolutely know you're sort of talking sort of fake Texan voice to absolutely know that that's you. And I talk about this on the podcast all the time, and now that I'm saying this to you, it should put this story to bed for the podcast, that when you joined the band, I had been following Relient K since the first album. Right. Not when Steven was in the band, but from when Dave was in the band and only the first album was out. So then, I was, all the little changes to John's joining and stuff. But then by the time you joined the band, Relient K kind of took a back seat from being one of my top favorite bands in life to being a favorite
because I joined the band. That's what it was.
But right before you joined,
it was the accent. The Texas accent. Man, this isn't the old Relient K that I know.
There's too many classic members have left. I can't take this anymore. But one of the first concerts Relient K concerts we went to together was in Orlando in 2007. If that makes sense, if that's the year you joined, or 8, I guess. I'm not sure.
08 was when I officially joined. But 07, I was actually on the road with them, though, teching.
Oh, okay.
Because I was in between, the Supertones had broken up. I had moved to Nashville. Me and Dan from the Supertones were trying to build a recording studio in Nashville, and then I was already friends with the dudes in Relient K because they used to open for the Supertones on 2 different tours. So I'd already known them for, since 2000 or something. And I don't know. It was, I guess it was 06, 07 a little bit. The studio thing was really slow and I needed to make money. And they were like, hey, we need somebody to come out and do guitars. And then the next tour I did just drums and bass or something. So
right.
And then
well, there was a tour
Dave
where
left,
you guys,
and then here I was.
Yeah. There was a tour that you guys had a fake fire, like a fake campfire on the stage, and you sang Weezer around it.
Yep.
That
I played
tour.
lap steel on that tour.
There was what?
I was so I teched on that tour, and then for I think 2 songs I would play lap steel on that tour.
Oh, okay. But was Dave? So wait, was Dave in the band then?
Yeah, Dave was still in the band, and I would come on stage and play on lap steel. I would do the Weezer song with them on lap steel, and then we did I think Faking My Own Suicide.
Okay, so you're correcting my memory. This totally corrects me. That's all right. That's all right. This is good. That's so that, like I said, this story will go to bed for the podcast from now on, because in my mind you were drumming in the band for the first time on that tour, but that must not be the case. I must have seen you
very soon
and
after
recognized you from being in the Supertones, and
a lot of people did on that tour.
Yeah,
it was really funny. Every night I'm like tuning guitars and setting stuff. They're like, Ethan, Supertones.
So so when you joined, but my point was when you joined the band, like it kind of went over my head. And if it wasn't for you doing that thing on the album, like I probably would completely have forgotten that you were in the band until we did this podcast. Because we definitely saw you live a number of times, like during the Forget Not Slow Down days. But like, like I said, by then, like I'm in my 20s and I'm not like as just absolutely obsessed with all my favorite bands anymore. I've got a fiance and then a wife, and really it's your fault, Jessica.
Sorry.
Are you? Sorry, this is a very ignorant question. Are you guys friends, or is this your fiance?
Oh, we're married.
We're married.
You're married. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm saying back then, around the time you would have
time,
joined the band, we had gotten engaged.
Copy that. Okay.
We actually, the part of the reason we do this podcast is because when we met as friends in college, Relient K was one of the first things we bonded over.
Okay, cool.
And then, we went to see a couple concerts when we were dating, and then we got engaged. And by the time we were married, we saw them. We saw you guys at RevGen. We were living in New Jersey. We have a whole podcast where we just explain how we've lived all over the country, because like it constantly comes up like, oh yeah, we were at this festival, and then the next year we were across the country at this place.
Yeah.
Like we were constantly living with family because we had no money until we finally moved to LA and I actually got my career going. So,
and then a whole episode just explaining New Jersey.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I'm glad you completely destroyed my memory of the first time I saw you drumming. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I was definitely there, and I was definitely on stage.
Yeah, so that's I
drums.
I reconfigured the memory, thinking that was your. Oh well, it makes sense. It completely makes sense why I.
It was not much longer that it was Dave's last show. Like, I think it was New Year's Eve of 2007 was his last show, and then I officially joined. I think it was February of March of the following year.
Okay.
So it wasn't that much longer.
Yeah. Oh, even when the Supertones got back together, I was confused. I was like, "Oh, Ethan's not in the Supertones reunion." I'm like, "Wait, he's in Relient K," and because it was like not a thing that was nailed into my brain at that point.
That was a big reason why I didn't do it, because I was touring full time with Relient K.
Right.
They asked me like 5 times to do the Supertones thing, but I couldn't. Yeah. Dan and I didn't do it.
Right.
But
Jessica had been like, I always loved the Supertones. I was not raised like. I always thought I would. This is a whole nother just personal thing I'm talking about.
Sure.
I always thought I was raised evangelical, but then like because of the internet and Facebook groups and other podcasts, I'm like, oh, I was not evangelical at all. Like when everyone talks about sort of the deep stuff, like trauma and stuff that have happened and like confusing things, I'm like, I was like, I guess because it's like Boston, and Boston's really like a Catholic city, so whatever version of evangelical existed in the 90s, I found out from like all my friends now who have grew up in like other places in America, like I was not that specific things, but I love the Supertones. I never fully got all their like lyrics and stuff, but
it was very. It was very theology driven lyrically.
Right.
Matt, the singer, was. I mean, he was. And he went to theology school, and he runs a church now. So he's like one of the smartest people regarding the Bible that I know.
Yeah.
I'm not smart, but he's an insanely smart dude. I mean, I couldn't even. We were roommates at one point when I first moved here to Nashville, like the first time I lived here, like 20 years ago. And the amount of books that would be in his room, it was just insane. I'm like, I've read like 8. But yeah, he's really smart dude.
I have a whole nother question that I could ask you about living with him because
That's fine.
first I'm going to just tell you so the Supertones reunion happens. We see you with Relient K on that same Rev Gen festival like 2 years in a row. And the Supertones reunion, I had introduced Jessica to the Supertones. She's like me. She liked the lyrics, like the sort of deep theology of the lyrics go over her head. She enjoys the Supertones in the festival setting. We see them at a couple other festivals throughout the years. And then we went to the final show in Orange County a couple, 4 years ago or something. And I realized she had never been to a real Supertones headlining show. She'd only seen them in festivals. So when the worship set happened and the message and stuff in the middle, I was like, oh yeah, I remember all this. It was nostalgic for me to remember how a Supertones show was structured. I hadn't seen it in forever, but Jessica was not raised in that kind of Christian environment at all. So she's like, what is happening?
I mean, that was the case for a lot of people coming to see the Supertones because, I mean, Supertones got popular enough where, there was a bit of crossover, as they call it, kind of Switchfoot was on MTV and all that stuff. And so people would come to shows and just thinking I'm going to see a band, they're going to play a show. And then all of a sudden there'd be this praise and worship thing and then a message. And personally, I never really cared for that in the band. I always thought it was just a downer. I'm not saying that is like a...
Exactly.
I'm not saying Jessica knows. I'm not saying that as a way to make fun of anything, people that like maybe worship music or whatever. But my thought was always well, our lyrics are, I think they get the point across, pretty good. Do we need to have basically a mini church service in the middle of a big loud show? I don't know. To me, it was always just kind of it brought it was kind of like a mood killer a little bit, when I felt like every bit of every song kind of conveyed what would be talked about in those 5 or 10 minutes anyways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was just my preference,
I kind of took it in stride as a 2000s teen and
I grew up Christian, but not that Christian. So I was oh wow, this is oh goodness. It's
and by
I was
degrees,
only familiar with the Insiders and Switchfoot and Relient K, and that was it for
maybe 5 Iron Frenzy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the other question I have to ask you, a personal question, completely not Relient K. We'll get back to No Reaction in a second. And maybe it'll tie in because there is the ska reggae sort of thing in No Reaction. But when you lived with Matt in Nashville, and I'd always heard about that because I love Hi-Fi Revival. And I don't know if that's controversial, although one song. Yeah, I mean, Welcome Home is now the biggest song on streaming, allegedly, right? For Supertones.
Yeah, I've every once in a while I'll dip into bands I've been in to see what streaming numbers are just for fun. I don't really, not that big a deal. And I noticed that. I was like, how is Strike Back or Unite not have the most streams, but it's Welcome Home of all things.
Right. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know why.
I just loved that album because it seemed like such a growth for any almost for any ska band. Because sometimes I grew up, I loved ska music, and hearing any ska band kind of mix other stuff in, go outside, especially because I would see local bands and I was friends with bands and stuff, and everyone was kind of we are a ska band and we do this, but any other band RX Bandits, expanding what ska can be, or Big D and the Kids Table with their Stroll stuff, expanding what ska could be. And it's it's smaller compared to those, but to me, Hi-Fi Revival with all those different genre mashups kind of happening in there, and it being the Supertones, I was I can't believe the Supertones are kind of expanding in what felt to me like a really successful way musically, what a ska band can accomplish musically. And then I was how did this happen? And then that's kind of around the time I learned who you were, and you were in these other bands, and you were in the Dingies and stuff, and that you had written all of those songs with Matt, and I'm it must be because of Ethan Luck. Yeah.
I had nothing to, well, I mean, I was on the record before that, you know, Loud and Clear, but I didn't write any Loud and Clear stuff because I came back in the band after they had written most everything. But for Hi-Fi Revival, I mean, before that, I moved to Nashville. I moved in with Mojo. For those that don't know the Supertones, his name is Matt Morginski, but we called him Mojo.
Right.
I want to say, so that house is here in Nashville. It was on the street called Kirkwood. He doesn't live there anymore, obviously, but I want to say that him and I probably wrote upwards of about 50 songs in that basement.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's all we would do is write. I don't know if, so we did this, we also did this side project record called The Grand Incredible. It's like probably one of Tooth and Nail's worst selling records ever. But it was basically a bunch of leftover songs from Hi-Fi Revival that weren't going to make it on the Supertones record. And then we wrote a couple extras just for fun for that. And it was just me and Mojo in the studio. Like I played all the drums and guitar. He played all the bass and did all the vocals. And yeah, so anyways, yeah, all I have to say is when we lived together, and we only lived in the same house for maybe, I want to say maybe 10, 11 months before I moved out to another house. And so, and then we still wrote stuff. I would come back over and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, we in a matter of a little less than 2 years, we wrote 50 songs in that house, which is crazy to think about.
Right.
I still have the little, I still have the little hard disk recorder that we recorded all of them on. It still works. But
that's great. So does that mean? So was I correct in thinking that like all those different genre influences on that album was that you bringing those to Mojo, or was he interested in those as well? Or was that just the magic of the two of you working together in that space?
Kind of both, I guess. It was so like, how do I explain it? Like he wanted to try something new. That was the initial thing on that record. It wasn't like I brought all these little guitar licks to the table and then that's what influenced it to not really be a ska record. He was just like, I just want to try something new that's still as fun and upbeat as ska music, but not just do the typical thing we've done for the last 4 records. And let's make the production sound different and stuff. And it had nothing, we didn't even consider the fact that ska music was dying. You know what I mean? Like all those other bands, like, I think Five Iron was about to break up around that time and all this stuff. And we didn't really, we were still doing pretty good, as far as selling tickets and still being able to, pay our bills and stuff like that. But yeah, we just wanted to try something new. We're like, hey, let's just screw it. Let's just try something new. And it was the first time we did a record in Nashville. Well, it was in Franklin, technically, down about 30 minutes south of here. But yeah, so I mean, Mojo would just be like, hey, here's the idea I have. And he would just play like that Welcome Home song, for instance. Like he would just literally play the chords for me. And he's like, I think there should be some kind of cool intro guitar thing. So I was just doing a lot of stuff that it's kind of found in either kind of classic rock and roll or like maybe even soul music. Yeah, I mean, to the point where at one point Mojo wanted to call the record, I think, Fourth Wave Soul.
Oh, okay. that's actually a great idea.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, it was just a fun record. I mean, it's definitely like probably I don't know if it's the worst selling one. I have no idea, but it's definitely like the odd man out record. But there's some cool stuff on there, I think, still. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
There's a few songs that if I had to, if we were going to put out a new version, I'd be like, maybe we can leave that one off,
Right.
I mean, it's like 15 songs on that record or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
it's a longer record for
the
band. I mean, I remember like also being a ska nerd in the mid 2000s, and I didn't even understand that ska was actually like commercially dead at that point because I was too blind to it. Right, and I still had my local bands that I loved and stuff. And I lived in Boston, and Big D was actually blowing up then. So in my bubble, I thought, ska's as big as ever. I didn't understand ska was shrinking. And I just remember like a lot of like Jump Up Records and stuff, like soul was kind of like where a lot of marketing for like some underground ska stuff kind of pushed to.
Right.
And then I just remember thinking like, well, the Supertones kind of did that already.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is that, the record, I mean, I know there's probably some fans that were like, oh, this is so weird because compared to the Loud and Clear record and then going into our last one called Revenge, which was kind of back to heavy and ska and whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it was a weird piece of meat between two pieces of ska bread,
right.
And but live those songs really went off well,
Okay.
Songs like Welcome Home or Superfly or what I'm trying to remember else was on that record.
What was it? Birth of the Uncool?
Birth of Uncool, yeah, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love that song.
It was crazy though. Yeah, and then Welcome Home became a staple. Like we played it every show after that, you know.
Okay.
And at one point there was like a chain of water parks like on the East Coast that like licensed the song for their commercials and stuff. Like we're like, at that point we knew like, you know, the popularity of bands going down, all that stuff. But we're like, wow, this is crazy that somebody wants to like license our song and stuff like that. So I still don't know why it's the most streamed song. I have no idea. Maybe it got used in something else that I don't know of. But
Yeah. Maybe it's that water park. Just
maybe they're still thriving, man. Maybe they're huge now. Like, listen, all I know is that I for some reason I still get about $150 a year from Super Tunes royalties. So somebody's doing something in streaming or whatever, maybe downloading a song here and there, which is, I'm always surprised. It's like every April and October I get the envelope from Capitol Records and I'm like, oh, let's see, and it's like $84. All right, you know, pretty cool.
So, well, then talking about genre mashups, we can tie this back to No Reaction. We got the Be Your Man info. So, like, No Reaction, and it being kind of like this has the reggae in it. It has the like the punk beat and everything, and it's a genre mashup as well especially for Relient K. And then that whole assignment of you know, you go write a song, everyone's going to go write a song. Like, what do you remember of putting together that idea for No Reaction?
I wrote it in a day. It was really quick. I mean, it's a minute. So I was like, I remember sitting down. This is at the house I used to live in. I had a little music room there, and I was like, all right, so this is the assignment. And I was like, what do I, in a minute, what do I say? You know, and then so I thought it'd be funny to write a song about writing a song to please them.
That was the question I had, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it'd be funny if the song was about this whole idea of writing a song that's funny and making them laugh or whatever. So that's why the whole, you know, tagline is kind of like, you know, looking at the Matts and the Johns not talking, and what's the other line? I mean, listen to that song a long time. Like, look at the charts, nothing's topping.
Right.
And, I'm basically like, it's like, you know, it's self-deprecating. It's like, oh, this song sucks, you know, and I'm trying to, hopefully you guys like it, you know.
I remember.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, I was always when the album came out, I couldn't like get a beat on like the subject of the pronouns in the song. I'm like, who is not talking? Like, I knew you say look at the Matts and the Johns not talking, but like I think you can misinterpret that as like they're not talking to each other. Like, I think some people have assumed that lyric is like the Matts and the Johns are fighting or something. Like,
no, it's more like they just listened to the song I submitted, and they're not saying anything. Like, it's that bad that they're just not talking.
Hey,
someone's talking.
Someone's giving a reaction. Hey, come here. Come say hi to Ethan Luck. So, can you go grab her? So, okay, so that makes more sense. It was actually not until we started this podcast and Schneck explained the whole point of all of the everyone else's songs that then, like, in the last 2 years, I would listen to that song and I'm like, oh, I think I actually get what it's about now, that it's about you giving the song to them. But I just couldn't forever, not knowing what the point of the assignment was, like, understand if it was just like an overall thing for the experience of being in Relient K and nobody is enjoying it enough. Like, I kind of didn't, but it makes complete sense now. It makes way more sense.
Yeah, well, and the little, not little, but I guess the Easter egg, so to speak, is that anytime that in that reggae part, when you hear the words "no reaction," it's each different member saying that they have they have no reaction to my song.
Oh wow, I did not realize that.
Yeah,
because I hear Thiessen in there, but I never. I guess I never put big over the ear headphones on to realize that.
Yeah, it's everybody, and then as it goes out, it's, you know, gang vocals and stuff. That was great. Another one that was recorded at my home studio. And then all we did at Mark's studio was I redid the drums, and then we just redid the vocals.
Okay.
And I wonder if I have the demo version of that somewhere on a hard drive. That'd be fun to listen to.
Yeah. If you want,
I'm sure I do.
I mean, John Warren gave us his demo. Like, you can't be outdone by John Warren on that front.
Challenge accepted, man. Yeah, but his song's way better than that. Last Elise that was so fun to play live.
Did you play that live?
We did a few times, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was that same year. We were just like, I don't know. It might have happened in the middle of a tour. Like, we should be playing that song. Like, give Thiessen a break on vocals, and then And then Warren would sing his song.
Okay. We didn't find proof of that, but like the only proof we don't remember hearing it live. Yeah. And then like Setlist FM is very fallible. Yeah. Going back a certain amount, and if you find it on YouTube, then you're like, okay, well, obviously it was played. But like when a song doesn't come up on Setlist or YouTube, it's like, well, it could have been played, but we can't figure out that it was. So it's great to hear that it was. Okay, that's great. Confirm.
We definitely played it live because I was always looking forward to playing that, however many times we did every night, because it was just fun, and like I felt like I wrote some cool drum fills for it and whatnot, and plus it's just fun to hear John Warren sing. I was like. Before I was friends with him, like I loved Ace Troubleshooter, you know, as a fan, being on Tooth and Nail. We were label mates at one point, so
right.
I always loved his voice, and I every time I've seen John, I'm like the only person in the band since 2013 that has seen him, other than the pandemic year, of course. Excuse me. I've seen him every year since like the three of us weren't in the band anymore.
Oh, okay.
Just because of everybody, I'm the one that I've kept touring this whole time,
right.
Like he hasn't played a show in probably 5 years, but I've literally have not stopped touring. So I was either out with playing for somebody else or teching or whatever. But every year I've gone through Denver once or twice, and I always go hang out with John Warren. So
okay, that's great.
We're still real tight.
That's cool. We heard you and the Johns have a text thread that's text. Not thread. What's the word?
Stream.
Group.
It's a thread group text.
Yeah. Called like the hireables, or what was it called? I can't remember.
It's called the Union.
The Union.
It's literally in one of my top ones right there.
Oh, nice.
Wait, this is backwards. Other way, you can't really tell. It's all
right.
Whatever, but yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it's we text almost. I mean, I was texting John Schneck like an hour ago. We've been like that forever.
That's great.
And then, but yeah, it was back to John Warren's song because I guess we're to talk about that.
Right.
I was saying earlier, I just loved hearing him sing that live and stuff like that. And it was so much fun, and we might have played that more than I played No Reaction live. So
No Reaction got played live too. Well, you know what? We haven't done our usual.
There's a video on YouTube of it.
Okay, oh, great. Okay.
It was from when we did the Toby Mac Winter Wonder Slam tour.
Okay.
And there was like a family emergency, and Matt Thiessen had to fly home. And so we flew out Tim Skipper from House of Heroes to cover. It was like the last 4 or 5 shows of a run or something like that. And so it was crazy. It was literally like, and I think something had happened with Hoops too, where he had to leave the tour briefly. It was just insane. It was just like, so it was just me and Warren and Schneck. Like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We don't want to not play shows. And so last minute we flew Tim Skipper from House of Heroes out. So he learned a bunch of stuff on the flight out there, but we had to play one show before he flew out. And so we were also on tour. Stephanie Smith was on tour with us, who's now married to Tim. She loved the band, so she offered to come out and sing whatever. She did some of the Christmas songs with us. But then great. I don't know whose idea it was, but it was either Warren or Schneck was like, hey, what if you played No Reaction? And Stephanie's drummer went and played drums, so I came out and played guitar. And I played guitar on a few things. Like I did some of the Christmas songs I did on acoustic, and her drummer, Steven, would play drums. But yeah, it was such a weird thing. But so that was the only time. It was like 4 or 5 times in a row that I played No Reaction live, and that was it. Never played it again. I wish
more of that stuff was on YouTube. It's so upsetting when you find out it's not. It's on there for sure. Oh, some of okay, good.
I don't know if everyone is, but there's definitely like footage of me. It's like I remember it was how like Ethan's 1 minute song or something like that.
Oh, okay,
nice.
I never know. Every week for each song, I do a YouTube like deep dive as much as I can, but like you never know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find things way later because just a random search term for a different song pulls up a song we already did, and it's titled like something that has nothing to do with the song that we did weeks ago. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's there. I mean, I haven't looked at it in years, but it might under my YouTube account. It might be under like my favorites or something. I don't know. I might have or bookmarked it or something.
Okay, I know I can find your YouTube channel because we did find that footage of you guys on your YouTube channel going to the Harry Potter world years ago.
Well, back then, like man, like it was funny when social media. This sounds so weird to say now, but when I like the years I was in the band was like the early years of social media, minus there was MySpace and like Facebook, but as far as like on a mobile device, smartphones were pretty new. The iPhone came out in 2007. I mean, I originally created the band's Instagram account. And at the time, like nobody was really, I mean, people were using Instagram, but no like bands and stuff were. And then I remember seeing an article somewhere online that said like why bands need to get on Instagram. And it was like laid out this whole thing about like why it's just going to be this really cool opportunity and it's going to grow and blow up. And so I just signed up Relient K for it. So like the first probably 4 years of the Relient K Instagram was mostly me posting on it.
Oh,
Cool.
And the band wasn't really that, that active on social media. Like I remember when I joined the band, I got like the login info for Twitter and they hadn't tweeted in like 7 months or something. And so I was like, dudes, like I'll start heading this stuff up. I love doing this stuff. So
that's great.
I don't know how I got on that subject, but yeah.
About YouTube footage. Yeah, your YouTube channel. That's what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. So to tie that in, basically, I was so I do photography and stuff. So I was just really into content, and I was like, well, I already do that. I've got like a video camera. I've got a little pocket camera back then. And so anytime we do something kind of cool, I would just like film it and like edit together a little video. Or anytime we were in the any year I was in the band, there was always like a studio update. There's one of from us doing the cover record. Like I would just film stuff every day, and like I would have, if I was tracking drums, I would like set up my camera and have John Warren film for me. And
okay.
And then the only time I didn't do much was during Forget Not Slow Down, because we had our friend Kale that was filming the whole time we were recording, which ended up being the documentary.
Right.
But yeah, man. It was always fun doing that kind of stuff.
That's amazing information, Relient K lore, to learn that you created the Instagram and you ran the Twitter account.
Yeah.
That's amazing info. So then, as Forget Not Slow Down, we want to ask because about the drums on that record.
Okay.
Because they're such distinct drums, and maybe it's in the documentary, but like we've only to be honest, we've only watched. No, Jessica's watched the documentary, so I don't know if you remember this or not, but I've only watched it in pieces. Yeah. Like, what was the process for creating the drums on that? Because like with Bird and the B-sides, it's like, just it sounds like normal drums, but Forget Not Slow Down, there's like a signature sound to the drums. And I haven't mentioned this on any of the songs you've done for Forget Not Slow Down recently, but sometimes I feel like there's a melody in the drums of some of the drums are just as much like.
It's a good observation.
Yeah, it's like sometimes the drums are like, how do I just? That's the problem of not being a musician.
I can tell you the answer right now. I can tell you it's a real simple answer.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned this a few times when people have reached out to me online about that record. a lot of the melodic parts, as you say, of the drums, I took the trick that Sting does a lot in old Police songs when he plays bass. A lot of his vocal lines, the bass line follows. Okay. So what I would do is, especially on the kick drum, instead of just doing like a doom-cat, doom-cat, whatever, I would follow the cadence of Thiesen's vocal.
Gotcha.
So if you listen like the chorus of the song "Forget Not Slow Down," I could have just been like boom cat right, but instead I follow his vocal. And if I get not so down, and like I'm a lot of the songs I just follow his vocal on the kick drum.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I think. That's what you're hearing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And it's either a matter of following the kick drum, or if there's a specific guitar part or something that needs an accenting, then I'll do that. Like I know on Savannah. I mean, that one's the entire drum part was based off of Thiesen's guitar part he wrote. The dun 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 dun. And I spent half a day in Mark's studio just doing percussion and just overdubbing, going da 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 on trash can lids, trash cans, blocks, all this stuff, And that may not have happened, but that day, I mean, I went in there just to probably take photos and film some stuff while Matt was doing vocals, and he got sick, and so he didn't come in, and so Mark's like, well, you want to do some percussion on stuff? I'm like, sure. And then so I had the idea, like, let me just add a bunch of stuff to this song, and so. It was just me and Mark, the two of us in the studio. John Warren might have been there because he would always stay he would actually stay right above this room anytime he was in town. And so it might have been the three of us in there, but I would just, 4 hours or so just like banging on all sorts of crap, just making noise to create that whole percussive thing of Savannah.
That's cool. Yeah, Mark Lee Townsend has a YouTube channel where he like opened up the Pro Tools archives.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and so thank goodness he released that before we did that song Savannah, because we're like, oh, there's something happening, but we would have had no idea. Like that's not something we can suss out on our own.
Yeah, there was some cool info in there, and I remember watching that video, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I would love for him to do this on all those songs."
Yeah, it reminds me of the little classic albums documentaries.
Totally, yeah. No, I love it. Those are great. And, and that I don't know what it is about that record, man. That for some reason, I mean, Relient K fans really love that record. You know, I mean, it's definitely my most proud moment as a member of the band. I'm very happy and proud and. I think that record still holds up, you know, whatever it's been 11, 12 years later. But it's something about it. I don't know. People still, to this day, I get messages on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, just random emails, or people, I'll be at a show in Nashville and someone will recognize me or something and be like, dude, I love that record. I love the drums and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, thanks, man. I mean, in my mind, I was recording very simple drums, but people are like, no, man, like what you did on that record, just, there's something about it. But I think it all came down to me following Thiessen's vocal. That or just trying something maybe a little out of left field, like the bridge on Sahara, where, you know, the song's in like normal time and then it goes to like not just half time, but like I think it's considered cut time, where it's like basically twice as slow, if that makes sense. That whole bridge part that Aaron Gillespie's on and Tim Skipper, it goes to it's basically like really slow, we call like a sludge beat. Okay. I just did it for fun. I'm like, I'm going to try something really people may not expect, I guess. Because it would have been easy just to kind of play the same beat over that. And then that ended up becoming like this really powerful moment, not only on the record, but live too. Like, I'm a hard-hitting drummer, but that bridge of Sahara, I would hit the drums as hard as I could. Like, it was just one of those moments where, like, the feel of that part of the song, and there's almost like this passion to it, that anytime we got into that, because there's like a break right before it, and Hoops does this really high guitar thing, and then I would put my arms up as high as possible and just come down, go my crash cymbals, and just try to break them every night. But, I don't know. I'm thankful, man. I'm stoked people still like that record. It's really cool.
I guess on the other, before that, now that I'm thinking about it, one other thing we learned from Schneck from Bird and the B-Sides is how that album was kind of like something that just had to happen initially. Like that even coming together was something that had to kind of be put together quickly in terms to meet contracts at the time.
I think it had to get done quick because we were doing Warped Tour that summer, and we wanted to be able to promote it, you know, on the tour.
Right. So I'm just thinking about like all the time and creativity and the drums of Forget Not Slow Down, and I'm wondering how that compares to like Bird and the B-Sides, Nashville, Tennessee EP, and like
that maybe really
having
quick,
to do that kind of quick. Yeah.
I mean, we had a little practice spot at Hoops' old house years ago, and I remember we like literally. I think before I even played my first show, we might have been already in his little practice space, like working out those songs. And they had already, Thiessen had already written a bunch of that stuff before I even joined the band, and so I just kind of came in and was just, laying drum tracks down to it. But I think we were already kind of working out pre-production for a lot of that stuff before I even played my first show, and then we did like a warm up show as my first show here in Nashville. But we did record it pretty quick. And I still think it's funny that it's called an EP.
Right.
It's a full length record.
It is. Yeah.
It's a double album. You have all the B-sides from the 5 Iron songs and all that stuff and whatnot. But I mean, all the new songs. It was like whatever it was, 14, 15 songs.
Yeah, it's over half an hour. It's over 10 songs, and that's like
an EP's like 28 minutes, I think.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, this can't be an EP. And we have a theory now that we ran by Schneck. So if you want to give your opinion or plead the fifth, whatever. But our opinion is that the band, meaning more Thiessen and Hoops, you were in the band, but Thiessen and Hoops were like not comfortable with Relient K putting out their album number 6 at that point. But they have a full length. Nashville, Tennessee EP is a full length album, but they're like, no, the next album's number 6. So let's pretend this is an EP. Let's just tell everybody this is an EP, and that removes everyone calling it album number 6 because people love to, canonize.
I have an answer
albums.
for that, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I think it was. I mean, my opinion. This is not fact. This is my opinion. Would be, I think maybe they thought it was funny to call it an EP.
Okay.
It was very Relient K of them to be like, hey, this is. I mean, it's a full length, but let's just call it an EP to be hilarious.
Okay.
I mean, and that's just my opinion. I don't know. Your theory, I've never heard before, and I don't know if it's true or not.
All right.
I can't confirm it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I apologize.
Not debunked, but not confirmed is what I'm hearing.
It is also a little bit across the board too. It's not like a normal Relient K record where you have those, me and Schneck's 1-minute songs. You got Hoops doing a song, got Warren doing a song. There's some just oddball stuff on there, So
right.
In comparison to like Forget Not Slow Down, it's drastically different. But
right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, call it EP, whatever. I mean, I have the vinyl down there. It's a double LP, so.
Yeah. We talked to Brad Moist from Goaty Records, and he said we released it as a record because it's a record in the National Tennis section. It's like no one kind of thinks of it as a record, so we put it out on this is me not verbatim quoting him. We put it out on a record to kind of like honor that it's a full length worth of songs that nobody ever really thinks of.
I mean, I consider it a full length. I mean, I think it's funny. I mean, it's funny that it's called the National Tennis EP and stuff like that, and the artwork that our friend Davey did is awesome. But it just makes me laugh. It's not really a big deal. I don't care at the end of the day. It's just kind of like, if ever I'm like organizing my record collection or something and I'm pulling that out, I'm always like, this is not an EP. I'm like, there's so many songs on this thing. But yeah, I mean, that was a fun, first project to work on with them.
Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, since everyone in the band can kind of like mix it up and play all the different instruments, are there any plans to like for some Forget Not Slow Down songs you jump on the drums or anything like that? I don't
honestly. Me and Dave kind of talked about it, and I think we both agreed. Like, I mean, you just play drums, I'll just play bass.
Okay.
And what's funny is I actually really like. I mean, playing bass is super fun, but what's been a really good time is when we've practiced. Me playing bass and watching Dave play my drum parts, and he's like, and it's not weird or anything. It's just fun because I did the same thing with his drum parts. It's like I kind of made them my own a little bit, with Forget Not Slow Down songs. He's doing all the main accent things you might need to do or whatever. But there's certain things he does different than me, but it still comes across kind of similar. And we'll finish the song. I was like, dude, I love what you did right there on that part. He's like, did I do it wrong? I was like, well, technically yes, but you're doing it the way you should do it, and I think that sounds awesome. So it's been fun. It's the same thing when I was, playing drums in the band and I was playing stuff off or 5-score. If Dave was ever at a show, it's like, oh, he plays that different than I do, but it still comes across cool, So I don't know. I'm just excited that this is, and I think, I mean, maybe it hasn't registered with people or dawned on people yet that it's the first time Dave and I will be performing in the band together.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy.
That is cool. And I sent you that video again where you guys like talk for a second. That was the Relient K web series, the first one, not the one that you were in the band for, but the original one. Yeah, and we live streamed that. We had never watched that web series. It's like real low res because it's from the early days of the internet.
Yeah.
It was actually like you had to download it on your phone at the time. And luckily someone like saved these MOV files or whatever they are. And we watched it. And as soon as that moment happened, we freaked out on the stream. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. I remember you sent that to me, and I was like, well, I remember there was a film crew on that whole tour doing stuff. And the result of that was terrible. It was a tour called C Spot Rock, and there was like a tour DVD. Have you ever seen it?
That is our next stream. We don't know when we're doing it, but we bought the DVD. Do you have it? Yeah, we have it. We haven't watched it. We want to watch it live on stream for the first time.
It's not great. It's just. I mean, to me, having been on that tour, there's funny moments. I just feel like it was executed kind of poorly. I don't know. It's just It's just weird. Okay. You'll see what I'm talking about. You can report back and tell me what you think after.
Okay. I have a couple more questions from our
Sure.
listener Daniel. These are some. I mean, you can do these rapid fire or not. Who's taller, you or Matt Thiessen?
I think we're real close.
Okay.
It depends on how long or big his hair is. But I think we're pretty much about the same.
Okay.
I might seem bigger just because I'm like a broader person, you know.
Right.
But I don't know. We've probably measured at some point. I don't know.
Yeah. He's also got all that hair, which
The
kind of
hair
throws
was
it off too.
that'll make or break it for sure. Yeah, I don't know. We're probably about the same.
Okay. Daniel also asks if on this tour, the band said that you could pick a Metallica song to cover. What would
Ooh.
you pick?
Well, I probably pick something that I feel like the dudes would like to play too. So I wouldn't pick like Dyer's Eve or something that's super gnarly or Damage Incorporated or something. I'd probably just do something off the Black Album just because it's, you know, it's a more simplified metal record. I think it'd be cool to hear Relient K do like Sabbath True.
Okay.
Or maybe a song called My Friend of Misery because it starts with the bass.
Okay.
So that'd be cool.
Yeah. And then Daniel asked this, not us.
Okay.
What is there any songs on Collapsible Lung that you're proud of? That's how he phrased it.
That means he doesn't like the record. I mean that one, you know, that's a weird record. You know, that was a big surprise to a lot of Relient K fans.
Yeah.
It was kind of almost like a pop record in a way.
We go over it every couple months, and
Yeah.
I still,
Yeah.
you know, there's a couple of tunes off that I still really like. You know, Don't Blink, I think is cool. Disaster. I still like Lost Boy.
okay.
And
We just
what's
did that
I'm
one.
thinking of. Awesome. Even though it was a total, you know, outcast of the record, I thought it was just such a weird song, but it's one of my favorites. Is the last track, Sweeter,
Right.
Yeah.
that Matt and Caleb wrote together. I always thought that was great. I haven't thought about that record in so long.
There's a couple of tracks that when we do them on the show, I think we have like maybe 2 left to do.
Yeah.
Or 4. I can't remember actually. But a couple of songs that when we've
pull it
covered them on and we go look on YouTube, there's a few that were being played in like 2011 and 2012.
Yeah, we did Boomerang live.
Yeah.
Boomerang
and
was
I
super
actually
fun.
Boomerang's probably the one that I most discovered just from doing the podcast that I didn't like listen to, and now I'm like, I actually really like Boomerang.
So I'm looking at the record right now, and I think at the time, like, I was like, because it was so different from Forget Out and Slow Down.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was like, man, I hate that we made that record, blah blah blah. And there's like 2 good songs on it. But looking at it now, I'm like, okay, Don't Blink's cool. Boomerang on the record maybe isn't as cool as it was live. Live, it was super fun to play. I think Lost Boy's cool. If I Can Take You Home, I really like that song. Disaster, I like. Sweeter, and then I forgot. Sweeter wasn't the last track. The title track,
Yeah.
Collapsible Lung, I think that's a great song. We did that one live too.
Yeah.
We did a few of them, and maybe we'll do them on this tour. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, they were still playing Don't Blink and Collapsible Lung throughout the 2016 tour.
Yeah, awesome.
And I can't remember if there's a lot, maybe 1 or 2 other random songs showed up at different nights. But like, yeah, I think when we saw them with Switchfoot on the 2016 tour, both Don't Blink and Collapsible Lung were in the set
That's cool.
list. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to play the whole record front to back, and that's it. No encore, nothing.
I did put out, because everyone's upset, you know, the fandom in general was upset that Forget Not Slow Down 10th anniversary tour didn't get to happen. Because, you know, that had happened for And Hoops actually said, like, in a reply to, if it was Hoops, because it seems like it's always Hoops on the official Twitter, right? Is that the case? That's what everyone says.
Relient K?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's mostly him, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So he replied to one person that said, like, yeah, we're like hoping to, before COVID, like he was like, yeah,
Right.
we're thinking about it or something like that. Something coy, but like pretty affirmative. And then COVID hit and it didn't happen. So
Right.
a year later, I put out a thing. It's like, I know everyone's upset that there was no Forget Not Slow Down 10, But how about this? And then I put out my artwork for Collapsible Lung 10.
There you go.
And a lot of people on Reddit got mad. They, like our Twitter followers understood my sense of humor, but when I posted to Reddit, like there was actual ire at the idea that I would even spend my time photoshopping my logo for Collapsible Lung 10.
I mean, Hoops was right. There was talk about doing it.
Yeah.
Even with me, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, there was talk about doing it,
Yeah.
but it just didn't work out, unfortunately, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes with what's that?
I was going to say Schneck confirmed that as well. When he was on the show, he said he talked to Thiessen and they talked about Forget Not Slow Down 10, and then
we had a group text going at one point, just kind of briefly talking about it, and you know, it's tough when you're a band for a long time, and then you know at that point they hadn't played in probably 3 years, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's tough to just like pick it back up just for one specific reason, you know. I'm just speaking for myself as far as like having been in bands over the years and my experience and stuff.
Right.
So it is, and you know, at that point, if you're off the road or not touring in your main band for a couple of years, you're kind of in this different season of life. So it is kind of weird to like all of a sudden revisit something, you know, especially when you're going to do a tour where you're going to play every single song from that record, you know. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of weird to get yourself back in that headspace, I guess. And then all just depending on what you're doing at that moment. So yeah, unfortunately it didn't work out. I mean, I was definitely down to do it. I mean, listen, 20 years,
right?
2029, man, we'll do it. Gosh, I'll be over 50 at that point. That'd be crazy. Well, I'm the old guy in the band.
I'll be right. Wait, you can't be younger. Wait, how old will I be? I'll be almost 50.
You'll be almost 50, yeah.
Yeah, I was born in 82.
So it'll be another, 8 years.
Okay. I get really confused.
Almost 7.
With the age of some of the bands that I loved, because at the time I was like, oh, they're in their 20s and I'm 17 or 16. Right. And it didn't feel like there was that distance. But then now I'm like online and I'm like, I'm barely older. I'm barely younger than Matisse, and I'm barely younger than Mike Herrera. Like, I'm like...
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, you're 1 year younger than John Schneck, you know?
Yeah. The thing that pisses me off, though, and I'm just kidding because I know him online, I talked to him, but Chris in MXPX now, that he's younger than me, I'm like, fuck you. How dare you be younger than me and in MXPX?
Oh, man. I'm sure Ryan Kepke from Slick Shoes is probably younger than you.
Yeah. That's true.
He's still 18 years old. It's crazy.
I introduced Jessica to Slick Shoes as well. Yeah. And she really loved them. Awesome. Yeah.
I just got the self-titled on vinyl not too long ago. They did like another reissue of it, and I was like, I should probably have that. That was a fun record.
Yeah. I really wanted to get Burnout on vinyl, but I was like, we have too much vinyl.
There's no such thing, dude.
I know.
How many pieces do you have? Let's talk about that.
I don't know. Have we counted? I don't think we've counted.
Dude, you gotta get all that crap cataloged on Discogs, man.
I had started that at the beginning of COVID, and then I was like, I'd rather just sleep and eat.
You had a whole year to do this.
I know.
I recatalogued everything even before COVID happened, just because I was on a tour with this band Need to Breathe, and me and their keyboard player went out every day and bought vinyl. Like I bought literally what you see right here.
Okay.
So the bottom left-hand corner, no, I don't think anyone can see this, minus your patrons, but the bottom left-hand corner is like everything I've played on. There's like Relient K Records down there.
Okay.
Demon Hunter, whatnot. Everything else is just like whatever. So I had to buy this whole another IKEA thing just from that one tour. And I mean, I'm still always buying records. Like it never stops. You know, my wife loves that. But dude, the Discogs thing is great. It's so nice to have it all in one spot. You can see how many you have, what the low, medium, and high value of your whole collection is.
Right.
And it's nice if you have a lot of stuff, if you're traveling or going to a record store and it's like, wait a second, do I have this? And you can check the app real quick. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you can just check whatever record you're looking at, check it, the price, in case they're trying to get too much for it or something. But
right. I feel bad when I do that, but I don't feel bad using Discogs in a store if I'm double checking what edition it is. Because you can scan the barcode and I'm like, wait, is this a reprint or what is this? Yeah.
And nowadays, I mean, I've been collecting vinyl for so long now. It's like, anything that I may still want, if I see it in a store, I probably know what it's worth at this point, you know?
Right.
Because I add stuff to my want list in Discogs and stuff like that. So, but yeah, man, you got to get on it, dude. It's like, I mean, I'm at like 800 and something pieces, I think. It's like,
okay, I don't think we're there. Maybe we got like 300, 400, something like that.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see where I'm at. I'll tell you right now. 865. But
is that a 12?
Also,
sorry, is
what's
that the newer mini?
No, that's just because my hands are giant. This is the
Oh,
normal
okay.
one.
Oh, okay, because mine's the same.
It literally looks like the mini in my hand because my hands are huge.
Okay. I shouldn't have shown because now I'm going to have to edit that moment of the video because my ID was in the back, but I had the same color iPhone. So I was
Is that the 12 or 13?
This is the 12.
12, yeah.
Nice. I got the 12 still as well.
I just thought there was this one moment where I'm like, Ethan, Luck, and I have the exact same iPhone, but it's not true.
It's pretty close. So yours is the mini?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I didn't want to commit to a big phone.
Dude, I even have my old... I went from a 7 to a 12. I still have it sitting here collecting dust, and this feels tiny to me now.
Right.
It's literally covered, caked in dust. Can you see that?
She's always had the biggest phone, and when I have to use it, I'm like, this is nice, but then it would have to be in my pocket.
See, I want a small iPad as a phone. I'm cool with that. No problem.
Trying to think if... here's Jessica's favorite question that I wrote down.
Oh, yeah.
Are you excited?
Okay.
I finally get to ask it.
Yes.
Is this like the conclusion question?
I guess so. We can
Yeah.
make this the conclusion question.
Okay.
So there are a couple of tour videos. I can't remember what year it was. I'm pretty sure after Forget Not Slow Down, where you and Hoops are always both wearing scally caps or similar, right?
What cat? Like beanies?
The golfer kind of caps, like this.
Oh,
I call them scally caps, like you're wearing right now. Yeah.
I've always called them like newsy hats.
Oh, okay. I always
There's a
call
bunch
them,
of names for them.
Yeah, I call them scally caps, and I don't know. That is a word for them. I did Google it once recently to
Okay.
double check that I'm not just making that up, and that's like one of the words for them. Anyway, you both were wearing golfer hats or newsy hats on most of one of those tours. So did you ever mix up your hats, or did you purposely share
No, because
them?
I guarantee if I put on one of Hoops' hats, it would be tiny on me. I wouldn't be able to.
Okay. See, good answer.
He's got kind of a big head, but there's no way that. I mean, and if he put one of mine on, it would just fall over his eyes, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, also, I think I don't remember what brand he used to buy, but all the hats I usually wear are. If it's on a baseball hat, it's usually a company called Brixton.
Okay.
Like this is a Brixton hat, you know. I've got one hanging on the wall back there. It's a Brixton hat, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, we never got them mixed up. I usually always kept them in my bunk on the bus. So.
Okay.
But,
I said this once as a joke on the podcast, and for some reason, among all the incredibly stupid things I've ever said on the podcast, this one really annoyed her. I'm like, do you think Hoops and Ethan ever mixed up their newsy hats? And she's like, that. She got so upset at me.
Like, no.
And then I'm like, I'm going to ask Ethan
ask
this
that
on the
question.
podcast.
I was like, don't ask
And
that
this
question.
week, she was so upset thinking that I would actually ask you this, but it went very well. He had a real answer. They have
had a real
different shaped
answer.
heads.
I could have said, "How dare you ask that question?" What a terrible way to end this interview.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I want to make sure I didn't miss any of our one listeners' questions.
Sure.
Actually, you answered this one. Will you take turns on the drums? It sounds like no. So yeah, so I think we got everything. So thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Sorry,
is
it
great.
took a little while to connect.
It worked out though, because then we knew you were in the band.
I know, right? Well, yeah, I think the episode would have been a lot shorter.
Right. We wouldn't have started with all that talk about being back in the band.
I know, right?
We would have focused on the subject of the episode, which is no reaction, which who wants that? I have no problem with tangents in podcasts. Like
No.
Yeah,
Not at
the
all.
thing I actually get annoyed with now is I listen to, and I'll check out any song by song podcast now, since we're part of that
Mm-hmm.
genre, even if it's an artist I only kind of know, just to see what other people are doing. And a couple of them are like, oh, we're getting off topic. Let's get back on topic. I'm like, no.
Stay on topic. I mean, on my podcast, we have a series we do. We've only done 5 of them. We just put out our 5th one just a few days ago. Where it's called Tangent City.
Right.
And it's me and my co-host Clint, and then our other friend Paul Moak, who recorded some of Collapsible Lung. and we just kind of have a couple subjects in the back of our minds, and we just start talking. We may not even talk about Metallica, but that's the whole point. Is like, oh, this one's called Tangent City. We're just going to talk. Like the last episode, for a good 45 minutes, all we did was talk about the Beatles because the Get Back documentary and stuff like that we've all watched, and so tangents are fun, man.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
And I think it helps the listeners kind of learn more about you and gets them more invested. Right. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I guess I'm so not used to talking to having people on the podcast. That reminds me, is there anything else you want to mention that people should check out of yours? Oh, you have your two. Well, you have your most recent solo album, Jessica Loves That One. I was a Kickstarter contributor for your for Let It Burn.
Oh, cool!
I love that album.
That's awesome. Thanks.
I kind of missed the new one when the Kickstarter happened.
Oh, it's all good, man.
Yeah.
I'll send you a copy when it's I get the vinyl. I still have 2 to 3 more months before the vinyl's even done.
Oh, okay.
And I ordered it 4 months ago.
Right. Yeah.
I was hoping to have it delivered by October. That's what I on Kickstarter. I was like, oh yeah, that's plenty of time. Nope.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's interested in any of my solo music, I mean, I've been making solo music ever since 2013. I've done 3 EPs, a cover EP, 2 full-length records, a couple other singles. So it's all in Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you get music, it's there. My favorite spot for people to get music is Bandcamp.
Right.
It's like my own little record label in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have more on there than I do on most of the streaming services. So you can go to ethanluck.bandcamp.com. And I'm on all the socials. It's just my name, Ethan Luck. It's pretty easy to find me. I guess that's about it. Yeah, and if you're into kind of country Americana kind of stuff, and you see any Morgan Wade tour dates coming near you, then come on out and come to a show and say hey, because I'll be playing guitar for her.
Okay. Cool. Did you play LA? Did we miss that already?
What's that?
Did you play LA?
We did, yeah. We played San Diego and LA, yeah.
Oh, okay. We just missed that.
Yeah, sorry. We did Solana Beach, and then we did LA.
Okay.
Next time, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be through it again.
But hopefully we'll see you next year in Boston or Orlando.
I'll be there.
Either or both. Yeah. Cool.
I'll be there with a bass on and minimal pedals and an amp and a DI.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you
no
so
problem.
much.
Thanks.